hell do you want?
Pokemon!
Done. Kids, let me tell you, they run you ragged. I'm not Santa.
Hey, what's up all you holiday movie lovers? It's movie time! So welcome back to the Film Archives. In today's episode, we're diving into the dark and hilarious world of BadSanta. So get ready for a sleigh ride through one of the most unconventional Christmas movies ever made. Grab your eggnog liqueur and let's get into it. So we start off with an introduction to our main character, who is played by Billy Bob Thornton, a character named Willie, and probably one of his most memorable acting performances of all time. And fight me on this, because I'll die on that hill. He's not your average Santa. As a matter of fact, he's far from it. Willie is a down on his luck, just foul-mouthed, hard-drinking alcoholic con man. So, little Christmas twist. He partners with his dwarf assistant by the name of Marcus. Every year they get a job at a department store and a mall, working as Santa Claus and an elf. They do all of this in order to rob the mall that they're working at on the night of Christmas Eve.
The loofah, let's go.
Marcus's wife, Lois, is also in on the plan and is their getaway driver.
Marcus, you get the loofah?
Marcus takes his job extremely serious. Willie is not so serious. He's just an alcoholic and shows up to work drunk every day. So basically your typical American.
Yeah, he's back there drunk.
So as the movie begins, we see everybody leave the mall and they begin to rob the mall. We see Willie crack the safe while Marcus steals, various items. We learn that Willie and Marcus have managed to steal $111,000. Right after that, we briefly see Willie in a bar in Miami, so we assume that maybe he bought his own bar, but no, he's just an alcoholic and is walking behind the bar and pouring himself his own drinks, which honestly, this scene was hilarious and it legitimately made me just kind of die a little inside. It's very funny. Moving along, we see that Willie has essentially drank all of the money that he stole from the mall away. However, it's now Christmas of the next year and he gets another call from Marcus saying that it's that time of year. They are then hired at a mall in Phoenix, Arizona, where Willie, being the alcoholic that he is, shows up drunk every day to work, which obviously upsets and shocks the mall department store manager, Bob. Bob then decides to inform the head and chief of security, whose name is Jin. Jin is played by the late comedy legend Bernie Mac, from the Bernie Mac show, and well, that's about all I know him from, but either way, rest in peace, Bernie Mac. We then see things start to get a bit more complicated as Willie actually becomes friends with a very naive and very lonely kid named Thurman Merman.
Well, come on, what do you want? A snot rag?
Thurman is clearly on the spectrum of sorts and believes that Willie is actually the real Santa. However, Thurman's innocence and his just unwavering belief in Willie basically force Willie, our anti-hero, to confront his own miserable existence. And watching Willie navigate this newfound responsibility and friendship is honestly both very hilarious and is pretty heartwarming too. We see that Thurman is also consistently bullied by a group of teenage skateboarders, and they're just a gang of your no good punks. You know what I mean? Very 2000s, very 2000s.
Hey loser, how you doing today?
After working at the mall as Santa Claus, we see Willie has decided to have a drink at a bar after work, where he encounters a man who just glares and stares at him from across the bar the entire time. It's super hostile, but it's also very hilarious. At this bar, Willie meets a woman named Sue, who is played by Lauren Graham, or better known as our beloved Lorelai Gilmore. She plays the bartender at the bar where Willie is drinking, who just so happens to have a Santy fetish. It's essentially a fetish for Santa Claus because Santa Claus wasn't allowed in her house when she was a child, so it's a bit weird. However, they begin a sexual relationship and, begin to have casual sex. Pretty cool stuff. After having sexual relations with Sue in his piece of shit Impala, Willie is harassed and attacked by the man who was glaring at him earlier in the bar. And this scene is honestly so funny. The guy just comes up to him and corners him in the parking lot and just grabs him and starts, attacking him and starts yelling at him. He goes, "I am not gay, bro." And honestly, this scene had me legitimately on the verge of crying. It was so goddamn funny.
Buddy, I said I am not gay.
However, Thurman, who believes Willie is the real Santa, actually has followed him, and he actually steps in and stops the man from attacking Willie, so it's pretty nice. Willie then gives Thurman a ride home, which this scene is also just hilarious. And when they get to Thurman's house, we learn that he lives with his very senile grandmother, who is not spry. Not spry whatsoever.
Emma, are you spry?
I think she has like a mild form of dementia. We're not sure. Thurman tells Willie that his mother died and that his father, Roger, is out exploring the mountains. Although we'll later learn that he's actually in prison for embezzlement. It's not good. We then see Willie trick Thurman into letting him rob their safe, and he even steals Thurman's dad's car, which is like a super sick 2000s BMW. It's very thug nasty, bro. The next day, the department store manager of the mall, Bob, actually overhears Willie having sexual relations with a different, heavier set woman in the dressing room.
The woman screaming, "Yeah, oh yeah."
After he overhears Willie having sexual relations, he informs their chief of security, Jin, and asks him to investigate and kind of dig up some dirt on him. And this scene is honestly pure comedy gold, bro. Like, there's so many scenes in this movie that were making it difficult to take notes because it was just so funny, bro. It was so funny. That day after work, Willie returns to his hotel room where he sees it being raided by a policeman. So he then decides to take refuge in Thurman's house, which is just like a baller house. Thurman tells Willie, aka Santa, that he wants a pink stuffed elephant for Christmas. This will come into play a bit later. Right after he moves into the house, Willie decides to take a bath, and Thurman just keeps asking him questions. And this is probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's just so goddamn hilarious. Like, the kid Thurman keeps asking him questions while he's in the bath and asks him the names of the elves. And Willie starts naming off the 7 dwarfs' names, and he's like, "You know what? I don't know the elves' names. I just call him Bub. I call him Chief, I tell him to make the goddamn toys." So funny.
Bub or Chief or whatever the I tell him to make the goddamn toy.
The next day, we see the head of security, Jin, Bernie Mac's character, actually run the license plates to the BMW that Willie is driving, and he finds that they actually belong to Thurman's father, Roger. Jin then decides to pay a visit to Roger, who is in prison for 3 to 6 years for embezzlement, and Roger, who is asking questions about who Jin is, and if his son and the grandmother who's taking care of Thurman are okay. And he kind of inadvertently and accidentally reveals that Willie is staying there illegally and that there should be no one else in the house other than his son and the grandma. So Jin just dips out and he's like, "You know what? I got the dirt that I needed." Moving on, we then see Thurman visit Willie once again at work, and we see him get bullied by the skateboarding punks once again. A bit later that night, we see Jin confront both Willie and Marcus, and he reveals to them that he's actually uncovered their plan and has found out that they are criminals, and he blackmails them for half of everything that they steal in order for him to keep quiet and not rat them out, which is just a very bitch move. Like, rest in peace, Bernie Mac, but that was a bitch move. The next day, we see Willie and Marcus's partnership, which was already super rocky, actually further deteriorate when Willie shows up super hammered drunk to work, and he winds up destroying the Santa attraction where he works, and just a drunk fit. And honestly, this is another scene of pure comedy gold, and the writing of this script is just absolutely peak. It's peak. Later that day, we see Willie has decided to attempt to take his own life by inhaling the vehicle exhaust fumes from the BMW. Thurman walks into the garage while he is doing this, and Willie gives him a letter basically confessing all of his crimes and their plan to execute a heist at the mall. And yeah, Willie notices that Thurman has a black eye from the skateboarding bully punks and decides that, you know what, now is not the time to take my own life. He then confronts the skateboarders and just beats the ever-living shit out of their leader, which is just honestly hilarious. Like, it's like a 50-year-old man beating up this like 15-year-old kid. It's next level, bro. It's next level.
I beat the shit some kids today. Made me feel good about myself.
At this point, we see Thurman and Willie actually begin to get closer and truly become friends, which is honestly pretty friggin' sweet. Upset and angry with Jin's blackmail, Marcus and his wife Lois set a trap for him. They fake that they need a boost and a jump start and convince Jin to give them a jump start.
I need a f***ing boost, and I need it now!
We then see Lois pin Jin in between the two cars and attempt to kill him by crushing him in between the two cars, which is honestly quite brutal. However, this doesn't kill him and instead just breaks a ton of his ribs. So we see Marcus take the jumper cables and electrocute him to death. And yeah, this is just quite brutal, quite brutal. So at this point, we realize that Marcus and Lois are like no good, bro. They're more than just thieves. They're also murderers. It's not good. We then see Willie and Thurman prepare for the approaching holiday with the help of the bartender Lorelai Gilmore Sue. On Christmas Eve, they get the house ready and, you know, they hang popcorn and it's all good. On the night of Christmas Eve, we see Willie, Marcus, and Marcus's wife Lois all raid the mall. And Willie manages to successfully crack the safe inside the mall, which obviously they steal all the money from. Meanwhile, he also goes to get the pink stuffed elephant that Thurman asked for Christmas, which is just super sweet of him, bro. However, as he is getting the elephant, Marcus double crosses Willie and reveals that he actually is going to kill him, fed up with his drinking and just his overall carelessness.
More booze, more butt.
As Marcus is about to execute and plug Willie, the police unexpectedly swarm in.
That's the sound of the police!
All three of you are in so much shit, it's almost unbelievable.
Who have all been tipped off by Willie's letter that he gave to Thurman. So, came back. We then see a short firefight ensue between Marcus and the police while Willie just decides to leave and dip out. At this point, Willie is determined to give Thurman his pink elephant present. So he attempts to evade the police and makes a run for it. He winds up leading the police on a chase to Thurman's house, ignoring all of their orders to freeze, and is even shot repeatedly on Thurman's porch in front of a bunch of kids, which is just so funny because all these kids think the police are shooting Santa and just scream. Luckily, Willie manages to survive, so it's pretty good. We then arrive at the epilogue, which is told through a letter of a recovering Willie who is now in the hospital. He expresses his thanks and his gratitude to Thurman and reveals that he was actually cleared of the robbery because he gave the letter and the confession to Thurman, who then gave it to the police. And since it appeared that the police shot an unarmed Santa in front of a bunch of innocent kids, it actually embarrassed the police, and they invited him to work as a sensitivity counselor for the police department to ensure that nothing like that ever happens again in the future. We learn that Lorelai Gilmore / Sue is granted temporary guardianship over Thurman and is watching him at his house until his father's release. We also learn that Marcus and his wife Lois are in prison, which they very much deserve. Willie then tells Thurman that he hopes that he didn't get too much blood on his pink elephant present, and that if he did, he also gave him a shirt as a gift instead, and that was a nice touch. Willie then kind of ends the letter to Thurman by telling him that he should be out of the hospital soon, and that he wants to have some sandwiches on his return.
So get some sandwiches ready.
We then see Thurman outside of his house when the skateboarding punk where the skateboarding punk has returned to harass and attack him, now knowing that Willie is in the hospital. However, we see that Thurman, who has learned a thing or two from Willie, actually finally stands up for himself. He then screams and kicks the skateboarding punk right in the balls, which is just hilarious, bro. It's so funny. Thurman then just gets on his bike and rides away, and then just flips off the bully who is just like keeled over in pain. And honestly, the ending of this movie is like, it's honestly a perfect ending to this movie. It's just top. We then fade to black. The movie ends. So, was BadSanta worth watching? I would say without a doubt, yes. This movie was a lot funnier than I remembered it being. It legit had me cracking up multiple times with laughter. The script and the acting is just top tier. And if you haven't seen this movie, you should definitely give it a watch this holiday season. If you're in the mood for a holiday film that's a little bit edgier, but is still packed with heart, BadSanta is just a must watch. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel. I upload new videos just like this every single week. And share your thoughts on this unconventional Christmas classic in the comments below. Much love to you all, and until next time, happy holidays, happy holidays, bye!
A mean, drunk son of a bitch.